We are Georgia and David. In March of 2022, we quit our jobs to travel the world full-time. We are currently exploring Mexico, and our goal is to visit 100 Pueblos Mágicos. Today we've driven about an hour from Villahermosa to the town of Comalcalco.
Now, this town isn't actually a Pueblo Mágico, but it has got a ton to do. So our first stop is the archaeological zone that we are at right now. They also have a restaurant that has actually been rated as one of the top restaurants, not just in Mexico, but in the world. And they have a bunch of haciendas that make chocolate. So hopefully we'll get to visit one of those as well. It does appear that here there's quite a bit of construction, like there has been at most of the archaeological zones we've been to recently. So let's go check it out.
So it's 80 pesos per person to get in the site, and it's not as empty as other sites we've been to.
Yeah, there's quite a few people here. I'm imagining it's because tomorrow's Easter, so a lot of people have, a long weekend to celebrate with their family. The other thing that's really interesting about the site is that it is like a brick type construction instead of being made with like large carved stones. So everything looks very different from anything else we've seen. It is still a Maya site though.
We had a hard time finding information about the site, and it might be because the placards look like that.
Yeah, most of them have been blank. The one thing I was able to find online is that the peak of this site was between 250 and 950 AD.
After grabbing our photo in front of the pyramid, we headed into town to check out the church in the main square. Unfortunately, the church was closed, but the square had some cool cacao-related sculptures. After snapping our photo in front of the town letters, we headed to Hacienda la Luz to see if we could take a tour of their cacao plantation.
Me llamo Ana. Cualquier duda durante el recorrido, por favor, con toda confianza me interrumpen y me preguntan. Esto que está aquí, que es el corazón del mutusay, ¿alguien conoce los muebles de mimbre? Sí. Este es el mimbre. Esta es una flor de cacao. Aquí. De hecho, allá arriba hay un cacaíto recién polinizado. ¿Cuál es el origen del cacao? El origen del cacao es esta zona del continente americano.
Anna told us that today most cacao comes from Africa because it's much cheaper. Traditionally, pre-Hispanic people only drank chocolate, and it wasn't sweetened. They did, however, add dried chilies and other ingredients to enhance the flavor. After drying the cacao beans, it is processed into the traditional drink. First they are toasted over a comal, then they are smashed to remove the husk, leaving cocoa nibs. The nibs are ground into metate and then mixed with water and drank. So just finished up our awesome tour at Hacienda la Luz.
It was very informational. She really shared a lot of information about the plants in the area and all the different kinds of trees. She did also talk about the process of making chocolate, but it was definitely like an eco tour. It took a little over 2 hours, so it was a really detailed tour. And at the end, we got to try some chocolate. We definitely bought some in the gift shop, and we also got some chocolate frappes, which were delicious. But I think it's time for some real food.
Yeah. So now we're at Cocina Chontal.
This restaurant was actually named one of the 20 best restaurants in the world by Travel and Leisure magazine back in 2020. So I'm definitely excited to try it. We don't have a reservation, so hopefully they let us in.
We started with the castacan, or pork belly, which was well seasoned and perfectly cooked. I got the barbacoa, which was also well prepared. Georgia ordered the manchimental, which was flavorful and paired perfectly with the homemade tortillas. We finished the meal with 2 local desserts, papen tabasqueño, which was like an eggy flan, and the manjar de coco, which was a delicious rich coconut pudding. On our way back to Villahermosa, we ended up stopping in the towns of Cupilco, Ayapa, Jalapa de Méndez, and Nacajuca. Each of them had wonderfully beautiful and unique churches that we couldn't resist popping into. Today we drove about an hour and a half to the Pueblo Mágico of Tapijulapa, and so did everybody else.
Yeah, today is actually Easter Sunday, and our first stop is the Villa Luz waterfall, and everyone is here with their entire family and all their picnic gear. I doubt you'll ever see this place more packed than it is right now.
So first we had to pay 50 pesos to park, and then to get across on the launch or the boat was 30 pesos, 15 pesos each, and then it was 43 pesos each to get into the main park.
This place is like comically packed. The country collectors came here about 2 years ago on a weekday, and you should watch their video because they are like the only ones here, where I don't know how many people are here, but it is like every square inch of this park is completely packed. The water is super beautiful though. It is this like kind of milky grayish blue, and it's because of the amount of sulfur that's in the water. Every once in a while you get a little whiff of it, and further up from what I heard there's like actually some hot springs. So we're gonna keep meandering through and checking this place out.
So all these families brought across on the boat with them a bunch of things they would need to enjoy the day, including bags of food and coolers.
But surprisingly, they also brought grills and furniture like tables and chairs and giant speakers. So they are well prepared to spend the entire day here. I think we're gonna check out the waterfall one more time on the way down and cross back over to check out the main part of town.
So we finished up our delicious lunch at Restaurante Mariquita.
We ordered two local dishes. We ordered the Pishul, which is kind of like a tlayuda. It is a thin, very thin tortilla that's topped with a little bit of beans. And then we got half of it with ground beef that was cooked with capers and raisins. Super delicious. And the other half with cochinita pibil. Really loved it. The other thing we got was the mone, which is basically a chunk of pork on the bone that has been wrapped in leaves and steamed with some tomatoes and garlic and onions. It was also really tasty, but the Pishul was amazing. Now we've climbed a bunch of steps and we're at the highest point in the town, which has a great view, which is the main church. But unfortunately, the door is closed.
So if you come around to the other side of the church, you'll see some stairs that come around to the cemetery behind it.
Yeah, the reason they put the cemetery up here is because they say that the dead are above and the living are below.
This Pueblo Mágico is known for its hand-woven wicker furniture and household items, which we learned the day before were made from the mutusai vine, which grows here. So just walked to the center of town where they have a bunch of artesanías set up. This town is known for the wicker, but we bought some homemade root beer.
It was absolutely delicious. And now we've come down to the embarcadero, which is basically at a point in the town where two different rivers meet. One runs very fast through Chiapas, so it gathers a lot of mud as it comes down, and the other one is very slowly winding through Tabasco, and so the water stays kind of emerald green, and so it's supposed to be really beautiful where they meet. You can kind of see it from here, but I think David's going to fly the drone to get an even better view.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them down below. If you haven't already, check out last week's video where we explore Campeche.